Hi guys, how's it here? Wow, this is what if Deku was a dragon? I know, weird what if, but we're gonna start off with, uh, ancient times, around the ancient times of Camelot, with King Arthur and all that. King Arthur is in the middle of a war, and it's gonna be called the Battle of Camelot. And men are losing the battle, and he's talking to Merlin, asking if there's anything she can do to help. She explains that her magic isn't strong enough to defeat an entire army. Yes, and Merlin's gonna be a girl in this. But she goes, I know a friend who can. And he goes, okay, how long will it take you to get this friend? And she goes, a day's journey. And, he's like, okay, take these, and she takes like three knights with her. Knights that we don't know. They're just random knights, just as security. And as this happens, she arrives at she arrives at a huge hole in the side of the mountain, a huge mountain, and as she walks up, she has a flashback of her first time at this place. She smiles, walks in as she sees knights on the floor, all dead, and a dragon. The reason she's there is she needs the dragon's fire to use. Is the only thing hot enough to melt a certain metal. Now, she walks in and sees the baby dragon that's still alive. The mother is dead, and she helps the dragon as the dragon's injured and is trying to crawl away from Merlin, who asks the dragon if it knows English, as the dragon responds with yes. And she goes, "What's your name, young dragon?" And he responds with Izuku. She responds with, you have a pretty nasty cut on your chest. I can heal it if you want. And, he doesn't really trust her, but he needs to, so he asks her if she can, and she does. And he asks her what her purpose is here, to kill him just like those knights tried. She responds with no. She needs his help. She needs to make a potion of healing, as a friend of hers is in grave danger and is dying. But she needs a certain metal liquefied to do it, and the only thing hot enough is a dragon's breath. As Izuku responds with, I'll help you, since you helped me. And the flashback ends as they walk in. The knights are holding torches, walking around the cave. As the three knights are looking around, they separate, and Merlin is looking for him. She makes a spell of illumination. She walks around with a light on the end of her staff. One of the knights turns around, sitting down, as he feels a breath go down his back. And he's like, oh, is it cold in here, or is it is it hot in here, or is it just me? As one of the knights turns around and goes, it's probably just you. You are wearing, leather. And he goes, yeah, I guess, as the knight drops his torch. And the other one's like, what? Is it something on my face? And he goes, turn around. As he slowly turns around, he sees the glimmer of the flame in the eye of Izuku, who stands up, and he's about the size of a plane, like a commercial jet, like JetBlue or something, and stomps his foot on the ground. And, picking up the knight, opening his mouth about to bite down on him, as Merlin taps her staff on the ground, and Izuku looks over, dropping the knight onto his butt and putting his hand down. Now, the knight is literally the size of one of Izuku's nails, like halfway up his nail. That's the size of the knight. Turning around, looking at him, at Merlin, shrinking down to the size of a young boy with wings and a tail and horns, with red scales on his arms and legs. The boy runs, not red, green scales. He's going to be a green dragon. And he runs over to Merlin, hugging her, as she responds with, it's good to see you too, Izuku. As she goes, I need your help. Camelot is in trouble. And Izuku responds with, the nation that you went to protect? She goes with, yes, it's my home nation. And, sorry, that's me messing with something. It's my home country, and it's in trouble, and I need someone strong enough to help. As Izuku responds with, I'll help you. And she goes, and he goes, only on one condition though. And she goes, what? You take me with you when you go back to Camelot. I'm been so bored over the past 6 years, ever since you left to save Camelot. And she responds with, I don't think Arthur will mind. Now may we go? And the knights are like, we better hurry. It's going to take another day's journey to get back. As she responds with, not with him, as Izuku grows and lets them climb up his tail. One of the knights goes, woo! As they're soaring through the sky. The other one pukes, and the third one is holding on for his life. And Merlin's just sitting on top of Izuku's head, smiling as they fly, and he drops them off as they walk over to King Arthur, who sees a giant dragon fly overhead, and he goes, is that a dragon? And Merlin responds with yes, and he goes, is he on our side? And she goes, he is. He's an old family friend, or not family friend. He's an old friend. As he responds with, okay, so dragons are real? And she responds with, yep. And he goes, how many are there left? And he goes, he's the last. And she responds with, he's the last one alive. And Izuku lands in the middle of the battleground as there's over 3,000 men in front of him. He smiles, stomping his foot down, crushing like 40 men, turning around, sliding his tail, wiping out over 1,000 of them, rearing up onto his back legs, and he flaps his wings, wiping out another 1,000, and breathes in and blows out fire. As the knights are burning, their armor is melting onto their skin. They're screaming in pain. One of the knights is running on his horse as Izuku sees that the knight is the leader, and he realizes if he captures the leader, the other knights will stand down and he doesn't have to kill any more men. He flies over, grabbing the guy off his horse, floating into the sky, holding him up, as he speaks in English in a deep voice. Surrender, or I will kill your king. As all the knights stand down, and he flies down over to Arthur, dropping him off, landing. Now, Arthur's knights don't realize that he's on their side. They start to attack, thinking that he's attacking their king. Merlin taps her staff on the ground, and light, like a ring of white light, circles out across the sky, and all the men stop as she responds with, he's on our side, blah blah blah. And we come to present day, or by present day I mean right, like the day before we start off in the anime with the sledge villain attack. Yeah, we'll do this. Izuku is the only one of his the species of dragons left in the world. And he's been, like, any dragon that you see in, like, ancient mythology that has a name is just him. Like, the Loch Ness Monster, which is believed to be a dragon or something like that, is literally him just swimming in the Lake Loch Ness. Ancient dragons in Japan is just him, Ancient dragons throughout the world are just him flying around, as he's been alive since the beginning of mankind. And his mother and father were the last two dragons of their kind, and his mother was killed, when Merlin found him, and his father was killed many years before he was born, like a year before he was born. By a year, I mean like a year after he was born, sorry. And we start off with Izuku. Now, if you ever heard of the hollow earth theory, it's when the earth has holes of tunnels that just go straight to the core. That's what the earth is going to be in this world. Izuku is swimming in the ocean by Lake Loch Ness as he pokes his head out of the water, and rearing up, diving deep down, because he had to catch his breath, because he does need to breathe oxygen. He breathes in and goes straight down towards one of the tunnels that go to around the world. And of course, one of the people in Loch Ness sees this and is like, Nessie is real! And goes through the tunnel, popping out of a bed of water and into a cave where he walks around. He shakes off and he curls up, lighting the ground on fire around him, laying down. And now he wakes up at nighttime to go for his usual flight. He takes a running start from where he is on the mountain, jumping off of it, and opening his wings, taking off into the sky at night. It's like midnight. And All Might, now here we go, a little backstory on this. 5 years ago, or 4 years ago from this, right? No, 5 years ago from the start of the anime, he was injured by One for All, or All for One, whichever one. But his wife saved, helped take away some of the impact. His wife will be Inko, since, why not? And they don't have any kids because Inkos literally can't have kids, and that's like the only other way they could have it is adoption or the other way, but I don't know how to explain the other way for those of you who don't know. And he can use his power up to 8 hours before it runs out. All Might, walking around, sees a giant shadow with wings go across the ground. As he looks up, seeing something flying overhead, thinks it's a plane, but what he sees is that a tail at the end with legs. So he jumps up to investigate. As he jumps up, he looks at a giant eye and literally falls back down to the ground, jumping again. And this time when he goes up, he grabs onto this thing on the side of Izuku's cheek, who doesn't feel it because he didn't even see Izuku. He didn't even see All Might. He didn't even feel All Might land on him. As he continues flying, All Might's like literally freaking out, but trying to stay calm as it's a dragon, like a real dragon. And in his head, he thinks, "I thought dragons were just myths. I can't believe one's alive." And he goes, in his head, he goes, "I should find out if it's friend or foe." But he's like, "How do I do it? It's an animal." And, he climbs onto Izuku's neck. Izuku doesn't realize this as he comes flying back down into his cave, landing, curling up into a ball, laying down. And All Might goes, "He didn't seem to attack the city." Izuku curls up and lights the ground on fire around him, laying down. All Might realizes that the dragon looks black, but when he takes a closer look, the scales are actually greenish black, like a dirty green. And All Might's like really cool. He thinks it's really cool. And he starts to get down when Izuku puts his arm down, which actually falls on top of All Might, crushing him. He's not dead, but he's stuck there. He can't move the arm of the dragon as his timer runs out, and he's like, crap. And Izuku falls asleep, and All Might's sitting there in his head. And he's like, "I guess I'm not going anywhere." And he just stays there. Izuku wakes up, standing up on all fours, shaking off the dirt, and begins to walk. But instead of going out the cave entrance, he goes back into his hollow earth. All Might, who wakes up seeing Izuku about to go down this tunnel, seeing the dragon about to go down this huge tunnel, he runs, jumping onto the dragon's tail. And as Izuku dives into the water, All Might realizes that, this dragon's about to go deep underwater. He grabs a rebreather that's attached to his suit and puts it on. And, he buffs up and climbs up onto the dragon's back as the dragon unfolds its wings and begins to swim. And All Might sees the core of the earth, which is a tiny little red dot that's holding the earth together and the gravity and everything. Izuku comes down to it and breathes fire underwater, heating up the dot, making sure the earth stays together, as that's what the dragon's job is to make sure the earth is protected. Now, other planets like the moon and stuff are solid, straight-up planets, but that's why they have weaker gravity. The sun is what's keeping them from, floating off into space, or the sun's what's keeping all the planets from floating off into space. Each one of these planets has a tiny little dot at the core of it, just like Earth. But unlike Earth, they don't have caverns that cause the planet's gravity to, which is a red dot, which needs to stay heated up. When it cools down, the Earth will lose its gravity. That's why the moon is so weak, is because of how cold it is up there. Other planets have warmer things, so other planets literally have stronger gravity. Other planets have weaker gravity. It's just depending on how cold or hot the core of the Earth is, or the core of the planet. I know the moon's not a planet, but the moon, everything that has gravity has that. The sun is literally just a giant one of that without outer layer. Um, Basically, they're mini stars that need to stay heated. And the sun and other stars are literally just stars that like are superheated. Izuku's breathing into the fire, and All Might's wondering why he's doing this to this tiny red dot. And Izuku continues to swim, and he goes out to Lake Nessie, where he normally hunts for food every day. All Might, who is wondering how they get to an ocean, as he sees Izuku's head pops up out of the water, All Might climbs up on the guy's forehead and sees a castle, and he goes, "There's no castles in Japan." As he realizes he's not in Japan anymore, as he looks around, seeing medieval like castles and new buildings, but with old styles, and he sees something that says Lake Nessie. As he can't read it, but he recognizes the language as it's I can't say the language. I was just gonna say it's English. He realizes he's on a different part of the globe. Literally, he's in like, I almost said Switzerland. He's in wherever Lake Nessie is, and all that, or Loch Ness, where the Loch Ness monster lives, all that. And Izuku dives, going back through the tunnel, and All Might's like, and he remembers reading a science fact from his science buddy, the one who makes all his costumes and stuff from the movie, where he was explaining that there's like a hollow Earth theory, and he goes, so the hollow Earth theory must be true. That's how this guy gets around so fast. Izuku pops up back in his cave. All Might drops down, but Izuku hears the All Might's foot hit the concrete. Turning around, like just out of surprise, what found his cave, and All Might realizes that he's been noticed and puts his hands up like he's literally putting his hands up like he's like, whoa, 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 I'm not a threat. And Izuku realizes that he's speaking English, and he responds with, "You're not here to kill me?" And then All Might like jaw drops, and he goes, "Wait, you can speak?" And he goes, "Yep." Or not English. Well, it's English to me and anyone else who speaks English, but it's like the other languages for those who watch the shows. I know it takes place in Japan, but we'll just say Dragon, since he's been alive since humanity, he knows how to speak every language on Earth, even those that are dead languages. And he goes, "Yeah, I can speak." And he goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "All Might, the number one hero." And he goes, "I was here since last night. You accidentally put your arm on me and I couldn't move." And he goes, "Oh, sorry." And he goes, "You are a human. This form probably scares you," as he shrinks down to his human form with wings. And he looks like a 15-year-old. And he goes, "Whoa, you're a human?" And he goes, "Is that your quirk to turn into a giant dragon?" And he goes, "Nope, I don't have a quirk. I'm an actual dragon. That's magic, what I was just using." All Might, laughs and goes, "Magic isn't real." And Izuku goes, "What would you explain your power is then?" And he goes, "Mutations?" And he goes, "That's not true. It was given to you by an ancient magic user." And he's like, "How do you know?" And he goes, "Because you're just ancient humans who have powers. Or you're humans from the ancient humans I knew had powers as well. They called it magic. You call it quirks. Others called it science. Either way, it's all the same." As he turns around, walking off, and he goes, "You must be hungry." And All Might's like, "Yeah, actually, kinda." And he goes, "Here." And he throws over to All Might a piece of bread. And it's big. It's like the size of like someone's forearm. And All Might's like, "Wow, bread?" And he goes, "Yep, I make food as well. I'm not just a mindless creature." And he, of course, has a big fridge. By fridge, I mean, like, a giant thing of ice, which he melts and then reuses. Since he's an elemental dragon, that's why he's green. He can use ice, fire, earth, lightning, any element, basically, he can use. And that's why he's green, because he's an elemental dragon. His favorite is to use fire, And that's why everybody believes dragons can breathe fires, because that's the only one he ever used. But he freezes his food. He thaws out a piece of steak, and then freezing up the rest of the food there. So he has a piece of steak that he cut off from a cow, that he actually stole from America. He flew up to America, grabbed the cow, and flew back. Of course, he had to kill the cow. Sorry, cow. Of course, no animals were harmed in making this video. This is a fictional thing. But the cow was eaten, as he throws the cow up in the air, cooking it. It's not it's literally cut up cow meat. It's a steak. It throws it up, cooks it, hands it over to All Might on literally a piece of plate he made out of clay. That he he does stuff when he's bored. All Might looks around at a picture on the wall that was literally carved into the wall, and he goes, "What's this?" And All Might responds like, "It looks like ancient. It looks like ancient Camelot." And he goes, "Wow, your geometry's correct. That was Camelot before it got destroyed." And All Might responds with, "How do you know what it looked like before it was destroyed?" He responds with, "I was there. That dragon up in the corner is me." And he goes, "Wait, is that Merlin on top of you with 3 knights?" And he goes, "Yep." And he goes, I heard the legend of that story. A dragon Merlin brought from the skies wiped out a whole army that was 10 times bigger than Camelot." And he goes, "Yeah, I did." And he responds with, "Okay, I gotta go." As he, puts his food down on the plate with his bread and steak, which only has like 2 bites left of steak, and like half the bread is gone, as All Might's a big dude. Starts walking off, and Izuku, out of curiosity why this human isn't attacking him, follows him. And All Might's like, "You're following me?" And he goes, "I know." And he goes, "Why?" All Might goes, "Why?" And Izuku responds with, "Because you're the first human in many years to not try to kill me." And All Might, goes, "Well, you're not hurting anyone, and I wouldn't hurt a creature that isn't harming anyone. I wouldn't kill a bear." And he goes, "Oh, then you are way different. Then you are different than many humans, as they just see a monster, a creature that they can get fame and glory and money off of if they brought it dead." As he follows All Might, All Might's talking to him. When All Might hears the sludge villain rob the bank, he starts chasing after it, and Izuku literally running, keeping up next to All Might, who is surprised that this kid is as fast as him. As anyone who's seen Death Battle, All Might can run up to Mach 29. Izuku can literally run up Mach 29 because of his dragon biology. All Might jumps up into the air to move faster. Izuku literally opens his wings and starts flying. He's not in full dragon mode. He just has his wings, his tail, and his horns, and this green scales on his body. As he flies next to All Might, and he goes, "It would be faster if you just hopped on." And All Might looks at him and goes, "Okay," and like sits on Izuku's back, who rockets off at Mach 30, flying straight towards the sludge villain, stopping in front of the sludge villain, dead, and the sludge villain literally just sees like a green blur in front of him. And all of a sudden, All Might and a young man with wings and horns standing there. Sludge villain, is looking around to escape. As All Might gets ready to punch him, the sludge villain grabs a kid, which we all know as Bakugo, pulling him in the front, and All Might stops. And Izuku looks at him and goes, "Why'd you stop?" And he goes, "He has a hostage." And Izuku goes, "Oh." Izuku smiles as he stomps his foot, cracking the ground, causing the sludge villain to fall, letting go of Bakugo. As Bakugo is about to fall into literally the hole in the ground that Izuku made, he blitzes over, catching Bakugo, flying over the hole, smiling, going, "That wasn't that bad. That wasn't that hard." All Might looks at him and goes, "You're amazing, kid." As the sludge villain jumps up, grabbing Izuku's leg, who lets go of Bakugo. Bakugo rolls onto the ground, standing up super confused on what's going on, as he was literally just yanked out of the corner of the alleyway he was in. Sludge villain pulls Izuku down to the ground, and you just hear the ground shake and crack, and the ground and walls start to crack as the sludge villain comes flying out of the ground, hitting the ceiling, splattering Just like when All Might punches him, Izuku flies up covered in goop, and shakes off, smiling, going, "Wow, that was fun. It's the most fun I've had in many decades." And All Might's like, All Might's like, "Wow." And he goes, "How would you like to be a hero, kid?" And he goes, "Why do you keep calling me kid? I'm not human." When Bakugo responds with, "What?" And he goes, All Might literally looks at him and goes, "Yeah, he grabs Bakugo, turning him around and going, well, his quirk is dragon, and he's able to use it's transform into a giant dragon and have the powers of dragon. And his mother threw him out when he was a baby, and he grew up in the woods thinking he was an actual dragon." And that's when Bakugo responds with, "Oh." And he goes, "Can I have your autograph?" All Might signs, Bakugo's t-shirt or whatever, sends him on his way, grabbing Izuku, jumping off. As Izuku's like, wherever we're going, I can get there faster." And All Might smiles as he lands in front of UA. And Nezu, who walks out to the door, was expecting All Might, as he had to come because Nezu requested it to ask him if he was going to take up Nezu's offer to be a teacher at UA to find a successor. He responds with, "Yes, but also I need to talk to you about this young man." And Izuku responds with, "I'm not a man." And All Might's responding with, "Yeah, sorry, I just call everyone young man. I call everyone, young man if they're a man, young girl if they're a girl, or young woman or whatever." He responds with that. And Izuku walks in, and Nezu, with his super intelligence quirk, gets the concept pretty fast. Uh-oh. Wait for it. God, don't open the door. It's my brother, I think. I can hear him. Alright, cool. Continuing, Nezu gets the gist pretty fast, explaining, "Yeah, I get it, and he responds with, I understand why you're here. You want him to be trained as a hero, so people will stop seeing him as a threat." And Izuku responds with, "That's what we're doing?" And All Might goes, "Yes." And Izuku's like, "I'm okay just living in solitaire and in solitude." And All Might goes, "That's no way for any living creature to live." And Izuku, begins to smile as it reminds him of Merlin, as we get a flashback to him holding Merlin's arm as she dies in his arms. And that's all you're going to get for that little bit of juicy detail. Now, of course, I'm going to explain this. Merlin's basically his mother, since she found him when he was 4, even though he was 6,000 years old for us. To him, he was only 4 years old. He was basically an infant when his mother was slain, and she took care of him up to literally up to when she died. Basically, she was still taking care of him. Of course, she left for 6 years to protect Camelot. Not 6 years. We'll say, scratch that. The 6 years that I said she left. We'll say is 6 months. She left for 6 months. She's been gone for 6 months. For that, and then there, fixing up little cracks in detail. And Izuku, sheds a tiny tear, wiping it away before anyone can notice. Nezu realizes that there's more to this dragon's story as he sees the tear, but All Might doesn't. And Nezu doesn't want to bring anything up about it because clearly it's painful for the creature. And he asks, All Might, he goes, "So, can we do it, Nezu?" And he goes, "Of course, but we'll have to keep a secret of him being a real dragon." And that's when Eraserhead walks in, as Nezu, called him in to let him know that All Might was working with him before he knew about the whole Izuku being a dragon thing. And, forgetting that he invited Eraserhead because he's going to be the one supervising All Might while he's teaching. We'll just say that. And All Might, and Eraserhead goes, "What?" And he goes, Mike, who's there because he was just bored and wanted to see what Aizawa was happening with Aizawa, literally goes, "Wait, that kid's a..." And Eraserhead pulls him in the room, shutting the door, going, "Principal Nezu, whatever you just said, explain." And All Might explains that this boy is a real live dragon. And Izuku goes, "And I'm also as old as the human race itself, blah blah blah." He explains that he's been alone since Camelot fell, as every human ever since then has, tried to kill him, and he prefers to stay away from humanity. The only reason he's in front of them now is because All Might asked him to become a hero, as he said it's no way for any living creature, blah blah blah. And I'm gonna leave that off there. And I will do part 2 literally later, but I need to go downstairs and hang out with my family for a little bit, as it's not cool for me to leave them alone all day. So, I know, I didn't get to any of the story except for the sludge villain attack, which is weird for me, but, I love you guys. I hope you stay safe, I hope you've had a good day, and I hope you enjoy. Hauser, signing out.